And I'll put that in your hands that you let them enter the room, and we'll go ahead and get started because I know Lisa's ready to go this morning. Welcome, ladies. It's just so good to see your little faces this morning, your smiling faces, and I miss every one of you. And whenever we get a chance to be together again, we're going to do one of those big group hugs together. So I appreciate you guys joining us and taking advantage of this opportunity that we've been provided today. So with that, I'm going to introduce our chairman of the Women Enlightened Committee, Wendy Forbes, who is a 2019 graduate of Leadership Haywood. Go Leadership Haywood. By the way, we're taking applications for Leadership Haywood now, with the first class scheduled to begin in September. So professionally, this is what Wendy does. She helps women gain confidence about their financial situation, which she entered into that profession in 2008. She witnessed the challenges, the financial challenges that people were experiencing as a result of absence of the advice from professionals around the county, around the community, around the United States. And Wendy and I've had some great conversations and shared some horror stories. Wendy identified the value of people having access to a financial profession commitment to the best interest of the people they serve. She has lived in Western North Carolina since 1998 and in Haywood County since 2018. She serves our community in ways that support affordable transportation, rehabilitation, education, and employment. And I know she took some of that away from Leadership Haywood. So with that introduction, Wendy, I will turn the rest of the program over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Since March, I have taken time to work on my gratitude practice. And every day I list 3 to 5 moments or things for which I'm grateful. And it's from this place of gratitude that I come to you today. Today, this moment right now is at the top of my list. Thank you, each and every one of you, for choosing to join us this morning. And thank you to our sponsors, Haywood Regional Medical Center, the Duke LifePoint Hospital, Duke Energy, Stanberry Insurance, WNC Social Media Buzz, the Senatus Haywood, the Mountaineer, and Smoky Mountain News for supporting our Haywood Chamber of Commerce and investing time and resources into the women of this community, into us. And thank you, Lisa Zahiya, for joining us this morning. Lisa is an internationally known life coach, small business developer, speaker, dancer, and performer. When we first connected in March, I learned about her passion for helping people identify who they are and all they can be. Lisa holds an MBA from the Robert H. Smith School of Business at the University of Maryland. After she finished her master's degree, she was on the verge of attending Georgetown Law School and pursuing a career as a lawyer when she heard the calling of her heart. Lisa's heart told her to serve women by teaching them how to dance and how to love their bodies. Lisa arrived in Asheville over 14 years ago and has since helped over 500 women all over the world to create and design lives they love. When I asked Lisa about her superpower, she shared that her superpower is her ability to hold space for other people. Today, Lisa is going to share habits and strategies on how we move forward personally with beauty and intention during uncertain times. Thank you, Lisa, for holding space for us. Please tell us more. We're ready to learn.
Thanks, Wendy. I am hoping you can introduce me at everything I do. I was like, ooh, that's great. Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. As Wendy said, my passion in life is holding space and helping other women create the lives of their dreams. And I think that that has been really amplified through the last 6 months since the beginning of the COVID crisis. And I have been so lucky to be in a position to hold space for people, both as a business coach. So I have 2 careers. I'm a business coach helping women change their businesses and change their lives. And then secondly, I'm a dance teacher. So that's what I was doing this morning. That's why I'm fixing my hair, is I go from fitness and dance to business. And I see those two things as fully complementary, because those two things both help women understand what their gifts are and to step forward into giving those gifts to people. And that's what I love to talk about with people. And that's what I want to talk about today. So I'm going to go through a presentation, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about my experience over the last 6 months first. And I also want to say that it is a strange experience. I'm clearly an excited lady to talk to a computer screen. So I can see the chat. If you have comments, questions, I'd love to see them as I'm going through the presentation. I've got probably 15, 20 minutes worth of content, and then I'd love to answer any questions for you. So a little bit about me. I have owned this dance studio. I'm actually standing in it for the last 12 years. We sit on a corner in downtown Asheville, and I'm proud to say that we've become a cornerstone of the community. We've served, I've taught over 10,000 dance classes, but more importantly, I've seen people, women and girls, transform into being confident in themselves through moving. So in March, it was the first time I ever shut my business, and state mandated. We're still 6 months into that, but I believe in working within any limitations that are handed to you at any point. So I created a new business. It's called Zahiya Online. I put the URL if you want to look at it. And it combines coaching with dance. So putting the two together. And how can I empower women all over the world to feel good about themselves? That is my mission. I am also on the mission to help women make money and empower themselves by building businesses and designing the lives they love. So if you grab a pen and paper, I'm going to go through some really practical tactics. And this presentation that I'm going to share with you is called Going from Surviving to Thriving. So I'm going to just present this. Whoops. Sometimes the computer is a little slow. There we go. So I feel like all of us are being told by the news, by other people, that right now we need to survive. But I want to talk about how we can thrive. So I'm going to talk about some things we can do right now to do that. And then I'm going to talk about 3 different ways we can do that personally and in our businesses. So whether you're a leader in another business or if you're owning your own business, we are all entrepreneurs of our own lives. So we're going to jump right in. Rules of engagement for today. I am a dance teacher, and as I said, I believe in participation. So I'd love for all of you to be in the chat and talking about me. Don't talk about me, talk to me. So, I mean, you can, but the things that I want to say that are the ways that we change ourselves. I have seen women go from not believing in themselves to standing on a stage and performing. I just had a client who at the beginning of this crisis was a nanny, and she has a master's degree in outdoor education for children. She created outdoor curriculum and has sold it to 4 schools and made $45,000. Wow. We can change. We can change. And the basic ways we can do that are 3 things. One is our physiology. What are we doing with our bodies? So I'd love to invite you right now to sit up, take a big breath, and feel in your body, feel what it would be like to sit or stand like you're proud of yourself. So I always think when I'm ready to change, or even if I have a moment where I feel like I'm surviving and I want to feel like I'm thriving, I think, how can I change my body? Stand up straight, shoulders back. I like to do a little Wonder Woman pose once in a while, privately or publicly. And how can I move to make my day a little bit better? So obviously that's what I do for a living, but take a walk around the block, stretch. It can be really simple, but science tells us the more that we move our body and engage with ourselves, the better that we do. Number 2, yes, the Wonder Woman pose. I have a lot of Wonder Woman memorabilia. Number 2, and this is a great thing to write down. What am I focused on? So I went to the beach last summer, and I was at Folly Beach, and I was sitting on the beach. And if you look to the right, it was a beautiful sunny day. And if you look to the left, there was a big storm coming in. I bet we've all seen that at the beach, right? Mm-hmm. And that is such an image for what am I choosing to focus on. So right now, if I am on my phone 5 hours a day, looking at people arguing on the internet, looking at the news, I like to stay informed, but I like to do it once a day. I'm looking at that storm. If I'm looking at less spending, increased time with my family, rest, being able to assess some things in my business, I'm looking at the sun. So at any point, we can move our heads and choose what are we focused on. So at its most basic, when I am going from surviving to thriving, I change my body, I invoke my Wonder Woman, and I choose at any moment, what am I focused on? What is the good in this situation? I'd love to hear from you in the chat. What's one blessing that you've gotten from what's happened recently? I have learned a lot about what I used to spend my time on, and that wasn't realistic. So let me know. The third thing is, how am I using my language? So what am I saying, and how can I use that to make my life better? Awesome. Wendy said, more time with my kids. You know, I talk to my niece. We make up dances together on Zoom once a week. That never would have happened before. I'm so lucky that that happened. And in that, you heard my use of language, especially anytime you say, I am. I am lucky. I am blessed. Wendy, starting with the gratitude, realizing I'm not so much of an extrovert. Absolutely. What do I need to take care of myself? So I'd love for you to write this down. How am I talking about myself? Oops. And then here's the last part, try. So I always say when I'm offering solutions, try my formula. So if it feels different or strange, or if I offer some things, just consider it. Great. So first, let's talk about personal habits to help you move from surviving to thriving. And even think about those words. When I think about how am I using my language, when people say, I will never be like, I'm okay, I'm great, I'm amazing, I am creating how I am through my languaging. So I want to talk about, and these are great to write down, some personal habits. And the first one we already talked about today, and it is gratitude. So Wendy was talking about her gratitude practice. I love the phrase, we cannot be grateful and angry at the same time. So my tactic, and I'd love to share this with you, is anytime I get agitated, stressed, angry, I put my hand on my heart and I shut my eyes and I think very specifically about the day before. And I think, what are 3 things that I'm grateful for? And I encourage you, whenever you're doing a gratitude practice, to not be like, my husband and my children and my sister. I'd love to get specific. So in my gratitude practice, and I'd love to hear about yours, Wendy, is about what are 3 things from the day before. And I put my hands on my heart and I go back to that moment. When my friend recently sent me flowers when I opened my new business, and I sat and I thought about the woman who would do that for me and the amount of support, that web of female support that is lifting me up all the time. So a gratitude practice both daily, but also is something to actively combat some of those feelings, especially right now. There's like a generalized in the country sense of anxiety. So personal habit number 1 is gratitude. Number 2 is connection. So we were talking at the beginning of this a little bit about how people have what I would call Zoom phobia, the fear of Zoom, or they just get over being connected. But if I am starting to feel, anytime I start to feel down, realizing that I have my own ability to lift myself up, one of the easiest ways to do that is connection. Call a friend. I like to keep a list in my phone. So this is a tactic, and it's called Make Yourself Happy. And there's a series of very silly YouTube videos that I'll watch, and it just makes me smile. But it also has, because in that moment, I might not be able to think of the best thing for myself. It has call Courtney. Courtney is my best friend. And I can just call her, chat, see her face if I want to FaceTime, or schedule a socially distant walk with someone, or be in person in a way that feels safe for you. So number 1 is gratitude. Number 2 is connection. Number 3 is, I've been using this phrase a lot recently, and I'd love for you to write this down. Claim your happiness. I've had so many people recently tell me that they feel guilty about being happy. And they feel guilty about seeing these things. Like Emily said, she's cooked more healthy meals at home. Carrie said less stress and more time with family. And if we watch the news, it can be like terrible, terrible, terrible. When I stay at home, I can actively choose to claim my happy. Part of the way that I claimed my happy is I dance every day. I really limit how much I'm on my phone, and I really limit how much I'm watching the news. So I read it in the morning. I do think I want to stay informed, and then I turn it off. So how am I claiming my happy, and how am I claiming my peace? Happiness and a feeling of peacefulness is something you deserve. It is something that will allow you to have more impact in the world, and it is something that will make you feel better. So tell me in the chat, how are you going to claim your happy? And I want to use that language. When we go back to the power of language, I'm going to go out and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to say that it's mine. Yes, you deserve to be happy. And think about this. If you're happy, are you going to be nicer? Are you going to be kinder? Are you going to give more? Absolutely. Thank you, Laura. So next, I'm going to talk about in our businesses and in our work lives, how can we go from surviving to thriving? I feel like everyone in the world right now feels like they are obligated to do this with their eyebrows. And you don't have to. We have a choice to claim happy and claim peace. So 2 things in our businesses that I've been hearing a lot from my clients. Number 1 is people are still spending money. Businesses can still thrive. I want to tell you one business that is thriving right now, which is Radio Flyer, the red, I lost my word. You guys know what a radio flyer is. Wagon. Thank you, Emily. So those red wagons, they are like, it is Black Friday every day in our business, because people are in their gardens. And think about if any of these things are bad things. People are in their gardens, they're taking walks with their children. It is one of the most successful businesses right now. So we have to go into the space that people are spending. And one thing that I find really important is I am spending money in women-owned businesses that I believe in. So I'm doing my part with, reasonably spending money and realizing that people are doing the same things as well. So Robin says daily she gives herself permission to sit and watch the birds, pet the dog, and not worry about working late. It is so important, Robin, and that is you claiming your peace, and that will allow you to be better at your work. So this is something that I've thought a lot about with businesses. We keep hearing pivot, 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 go online. And I feel like that's an unclear point, and it's an unfair thing to say to people because we're not giving any direction how to do it. This is what I think is better. define what your magic is. What is the magic of your business? What is the magic of you? And this is so useful because this will happen over and over and over again, and not just right now. So for me, when I thought about dance classes, my magic was making people feel good about themselves, providing accessible fitness for all body types, and it was about the energy. So big rooms filled with people getting excited. So I really defined what my magic was. What's that light that I hold for people? And I just thought, what are all the different packages I could put that in? Because for me, even if we opened right now and I could have 2 people in the room and everybody's wearing a mask, that doesn't feel like my magic. So I made my magic happen online. I'm going to make my magic happen in the park. So how can I, instead of pivoting, how can I define what my gifts and magic are? And then what are all the different ways that I can package that? That will also allow any business to do better after this is over, because we will have different ways for people to access it. The most surprising thing that I've heard is people tell me, I never would have come into a dance studio because it terrifies me. But I'm able to do it at home on my own terms. I can have my camera off or on. So that was a way for me to repurpose my magic, and what a gift that I learned that. Emily took her first day off and read an entire novel. Doesn't that feel amazing? Rest is essential. I'm proud of you, Emily. So I want to talk about one more thing with business that I think is important, is that you have to also, we're repackaging our magic, we're spending, but we also have to make sure that we understand where the business is. So in this perspective, I have made sure that I know essentially what's my burn rate, how much money do I go through in a month here at the dance studio. So I know how to budget and I know how to project for the future. That's a whole other presentation. I bet you guys already know that. But in terms of thriving, I need to know the facts. Great. So the third thing is, what are we going to do moving forward? So realizing that we're probably looking at some version of a new normal right now. When the economy crashed in 2008, these magical things grew out of it. Never before 2008 did somebody say, I would put my child, or I would get in a stranger's car and let them drive me somewhere using something on my phone. Uber came out of that financial crash. People stay in each other's houses. If you had told me that in 2006, I would have thought it was so strange. So Airbnb came out of that. So realizing that right now, a new economy and a new world is forming and a new normal is coming. So this is great both personally and professionally to think about, how can I thrive moving forward? So realizing that people are going to have new habits. And, we were talking before about how can we engage people online. I think we haven't even seen some of the cool things that are going to happen. I just saw a piece of software that is like speed dating for networking, that you're on your computer screen and there's a little timer in the corner. And if anybody's interested in this, I can find out what it is. And you're in a room with somebody for 2 minutes and you're exchanging information with them, and then a spinny thing comes on the screen, and then you get a new person. So there's all these new ways, and I was able to network with people all over the world. So let's talk a little bit about embracing the new normal. And this is something worth writing down and has changed my life. When I consider what I can do within the limitations I have, I suddenly have no more limitations. So the government said to me, you cannot open your business. So if I just pushed against that and I was like, but I want it to work, I can't claim my happy there. But if I said, okay, what are all the ways that I can work within those limitations? And I created this online dance studio and I went all in and I bought this tech. There's a light on me right now. Then that allows me to let go of limitations. Wendy, I love you claiming you're happy. So let's talk about this really quickly. First of all, we have to claim the new normal. We have to get excited about the new normal, that people are going to be at home more. That two things I think that are going to happen. One is digital is not going away. So we saw Peloton was already doing really well. Digital dance class is here to stay. People dancing from their living rooms. The second thing is, like we talked about that big hug, is getting ready for a movement of real connection. So when this is all over, I think there's going to be such a beautiful movement towards deep, personal, in-person connection. Focus on what you can do. Good, Emily, thank you. And then moving forward, I just think embracing digital. So I know that a lot of people are resistant to it, but I think we're at the very beginning of it. And like right now, I am able from Asheville to be there with you. What a gift. I had somebody in my dance class today from California, which also meant she was dancing at 4 a.m. before her baby gets up. But embracing the ways that this can enhance and not limit what we're doing. I just rolled through that really quickly. You can tell that I am a kinesthetic woman. So this is on my contact information. I'm Lisa Zahiya on any social media. So that was about 15 minutes, but tell me all your questions. I'm gonna turn this off. And so how do we suggest we bring other women along with us? How do we encourage them? I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was Oprah interviewing her best friend, Gail. So I was, who better for me to learn from? And they were talking about how they've continually only been excited for each other. They never get competitive or anything like this. So a rising tide lifts all boats. So I think every time I have a success, how can I bring somebody else with me? I'm hiring other teachers to be here, so those women are getting more income. I judge my business not by how much it's making, but also how many people can I employ. And then how can I, partially modeling. I think I am shocked at how many people tell me that they are motivated just by seeing how I choose to do things, how I chose to be really positive about changing my business. Good. What other questions can I answer for you? Or I'd love to hear any ahas from what I went through. I'll just dance.
I'll say it. I already said it kind of in the chat, but Wendy and I both, and I know a lot of other ladies are in industries that are very compliant and very hard to work in. New, I work for Edward Jones, and we're very in last century when it comes to our technology and what we're allowed to do online with marketing. So that has been very frustrating during this time because I feel like my hands are tied in a way. But what you said about focusing on what you can do within the limitations and leaning into that really, really spoke to me. So I appreciate that.
Good, thank you. Yeah, and I think that it's just like, it's literally the question, do I want to keep walking into this wall, or I do want to figure out how to walk around it? Because we've all done this before, like walked right into something over and over again. Thank you to person at Mercy Urgent Care, switched and opened yourself. And that was such an example of that. Is like, I was like, what can I do right now? And it opened up this whole new business.
I had, in a class I was in last week, one of the things that was said, and I'll be honest, I had a little bit of a negative attitude. I was frustrated because it wasn't the format that I was wanting, and I ended up feeling very selfish for my attitude, honestly. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that was said was that growth rarely happens in our comfort zone, and that really spoke to me because instead of focusing on why it wasn't going my way or how I envisioned it to be, I was missing out on things that I could be participating in or learning from just because I had a negative attitude. And I know that negativity breeds negativity. And so just, we do need to embrace this new normal. This is what we have.
This is what we have. Yeah, absolutely. And good for you for realizing that and having a breakthrough. And I think it's so easy to be like, I'm like, remember January when it felt like people were throwing money at me? And but now, what a good skill to learn how to market and earn when I didn't have that, which is the same thing that you were talking about. So Barb, thank you. Gratitude, claiming you're happy. To me, gratitude has changed my life. Yeah, and I think that other thing that I've done is I made a video about how to use Zoom, and I just put it on the internet. And I made, like, how can I continually give? So I made a video about how all the tech setup that I'd learned so other dance teachers can learn, but also like just how to use Zoom. And my mom learned how to use it from that. So especially where I'm in a place where it's easier for me because I tend to be a tech comfortable person.
I think that's a problem that a lot of people are having. They don't want to use the Zoom, or they're uncomfortable with using the Zoom. I mean, Kim and I literally worked with one of our members to help him. We kind of selfishly used him as a guinea pig because we knew that he wouldn't judge us or make fun of us, and said, will you help us learn? Because we learned it in, I don't know, Kim, what was it, 2 days?
Yeah.
And 2 days, and then we had a snag, and it was my Surface Pro didn't have the audio attached to it, so it was nothing we were doing wrong. It was just the way that was set up. But now this business person is he's taken advantage of that, and it's really helped his career. And he brought us the other day apple bread from the apple orchard, and told us that if it hadn't been for us, that he wouldn't have been able to have done with his business what you're doing with your business. So we have a good example of that. But I just feel a lot of people they're either not comfortable with it, or they're just shying back from it. And I have found out that just it is the new normal, and it's hard to accept that. And I think, it took me a long time to accept it. And then finally, just one day I said, okay, this is it. We're going to do it this new norm way. We're going to figure this out. And so we did it. But I just really feel like there's some people that aren't quite there yet.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to see a shift once summer's over. Because right now it's easy to go outside, but like we're going to really desire that connection come November, December. And like when I was talking about Airbnb and Uber, like I think that there's probably some innovation as far as how easy things like this are that is coming. Because anybody who works in that arena, I'm sure, is all over it. So that should help. But I agree. I think, but it's like anything, like I always think I saw my sister survive a year of cancer treatment, and now she's thriving, but seeing how she dealt with it made me be like, this isn't hard. Like I might be stuck at home, but I'm with my partner, and he and I are able to work together, and I have Netflix, and I'm not sick. So and that goes back to gratitude.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Ladies, you have any more questions today?
Any questions for me? Maintain perspective. Telemedicine, is changing dramatically. And also, like, I've learned that I had a minor medical issue and I could just call the doctor, and I was like, this is easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Lisa, will you tell us some more about your dance studio and kind of what that looks like?
Yeah.
Just because I'm thinking that one of my things last week was like, I've got to do something for myself. Yeah. And I read, and that's kind of a stress reliever for me, but I need to do something for myself, for my body, for my mental health even.
Yeah, so we have a couple of, you can just drop into a class. Carrie's taken 2 classes at our studio, and or you can get like an unlimited membership, and that includes both the live classes. I think right now there's 12 or 15 a week, and it's dance fitness, which is Zumba, hip hop cardio. I teach a world dance class, which is really fun. We do a little bit of everything. And then I also teach belly dance. And the other thing that so you can drop in, you just go to zahiyaonline.com, you choose what you want to do, or you can purchase a class online. And then you can always just email us and we'll help you pick. And it's really fun. And right now, I think the oldest student I have is 76, and she takes hip hop cardio. And my niece, who's 11, also takes the same class, and she loves it. And she loves to take pictures of me on the screen and text them to me. I'm like, thank you. And it is the same philosophy, and you'll hear me talk about it, that I had in person, which is like, I do not care if it's perfect. It's about moving. And also, like, for me right now, it's about women feeling beautiful and amazing, and like feeling your own self and believing in yourself, and how moving can make you feel like that. Barb asked, do you think with the digital innovations, it will allow more free time in the future? Yes. I think that we're at the cusp of some ways we're able to access things digitally that are not going to go away. And I do have different levels of classes. I also occasionally do a free class that's on Saturdays. Class is always free. You just sign up online. It's at 9:30. And then I do a Dance 101 free class once in a while, which just teaches you some basic dance steps for when you want to make a club in your living room.
Dance studio. Lady, you can take your mute off if you want to. You don't have to put everything in the chat right now. If anyone wants to make a comment, unmute yourself, please.
I think my call to action to everyone would be really make a plan to embrace your own happiness. Mm-hmm. That's what I see doing the biggest difference, and the gratitude practice.
Yeah, I agree. I think as females, I think that we're taking on a lot of responsibility now. I mean, my children are grown, but I have grandchildren, and I feel very responsible to try to help my son and my daughter-in-law especially the one that's going into kindergarten. I mean, how do you start kindergarten, during a pandemic? And they both work. So I feel a lot of responsibility, toward that, and toward women, and every single thing we do. And I think programs like this are so helpful and valuable, mm-hmm. because it just gives us that freedom that we need to understand that we're women, we're going to be like this. We're going to try to take care of people. It's just our nature, but we also have to take care of ourselves as well.
What happens if you put yourself first once a day?
What happens?
Like, I think that's just,
I don't know, I haven't done it yet.
That's not, you don't have to answer it, but just the idea of like, what if I chose, like, before I make dinner for everybody, before I go the extra mile at the office, what happens if I take a walk around the block? I have a podcast, and this one hasn't come out. I interviewed a woman who's an attorney, and she said she just gets real clear on her calendar, and she will not answer her phone. And once a day, she stops and takes a fitness class at home, and at 6 o'clock, she turns it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all guilty of that, trying to be so perfect and trying to be at the top of our game all the time, that we forget to take time for ourselves.
Yeah, and the thing that's been a problem for me during this time is that being so available, because everything's digital. So it's on my computer, it's on my phone. And I got to a point where I couldn't really get away from it for a little while. And it was really bad for me mentally. So I took work email off my phone. And when I'm at home, I'm at home. And when I'm at work, I'm at work. And that's helped me a lot.
Kim, we need to work on that.
You know, I was just sitting here thinking about that I promised myself my first goal in my trying to, I'm a woman of that age. And so I'm trying to make a lot of changes in my world right now. And I do dance every night. And I'm on my own for the first time in a long time. I have no one else to take care of, not even a fish, nothing. And it's really nice not to have those obligations because I have had them for 30 whatever years. And, but I made a promise to myself that I would stop opening up my laptop the second I got home. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing a terrible job of it, but that's
terrible.
I sent an email at 2:00 in the morning the other day.
I was getting ready to say, I've gotten a few emails from you at 1 or 2 in the morning. So
I think one thing that helps me with that, Kim, is like, I have a plan of something else to do. Cause I think about that sometimes, like right now, my boyfriend is in New York, and, I typically, I used to do stuff with friends, but I was like, why wouldn't I just keep working? So I time block my schedule, but at the end of the day, I have a plan, like take a walk, cook this, and then I'm going to watch this show, because if I don't have a plan, I go back to my habit.
Yeah.
I also don't have any notifications on my phone.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. That's a problem. And I understand exactly where Emily was, because in the very beginning, our text was going off, people were calling, you could hear the emails coming in because we were all at home, and it was just like, you just couldn't keep up with it. It's I think we're still getting some of the aftershock of March.
I have
go ahead.
I have a philosophy. My husband works in the medical industry. He has our whole 31 years of marriage, and he works in cardiology. So they have emergencies every day. I'm a tax accountant. There's no such thing as a tax emergency. So when clients text me, they go outside of a boundary. So I set visual boundaries for myself. Like I call it a brick wall or whatever the case might be. Sometimes it's like just a black screen in my mind. And when a client crosses that boundary, I purposely will not answer them. I will not answer the email, and I will not answer the text. And if they call me out on it, I come back at them with, I don't work 24/7. These are my hours. If you would like to communicate with me during that boundary, I'll be more than happy to take care of your issues. But people, I think that's the problem right now, is that everyone in our lives is making their problems our problems. And to what Cece said, when you have grown children and you have grandchildren and they're faced with going back to school, my daughter-in-law is a teacher. They live in Florida. I can't help them. My granddaughter's going into pre-K. They just started school last week. I am utterly terrified. And my daughter-in-law said it best last week. She said, whatever Hudson gets, I get it 6 times worse than she does. So my daughter-in-law isn't thinking, what if? She's saying, when we get sick, this is what's going to happen. And it terrifies me. So I tend to take on the worries of everybody else in my life. And I have to set better boundaries with that. Because if I set boundaries for my work, I need to set personal boundaries. And I think that's where I fail.
Yeah. And I think that Brene Brown said the most boundaried people are the most compassionate. Mm-hmm. When you have a boundary, like you're better at helping your clients because you don't answer them all the time. Mm-hmm. And I have, and this is something that's useful for everyone, I have an autoresponder on my email that's like, we're working on the new business or whatever I'm working on. I'm so excited to hear from you. I check my email at 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only. So I'll answer, and I say I'll answer you within 24 hours. But even personally, actually will physically, you were talking about that wall, I physically will be like, I'm not going to take that on right now. And I might even do something with my body to show that. Awesome. Ladies, I have to go at 10. But are there any other questions or comments?
No, Lisa, we appreciate you so much. I'm disappointed that we didn't have more to hear from you because you're so inspirational, but we hope that you will join us again. We'll invite you back and hope you will join us again, and we can do part 2 of this conversation.
I would love that. And if anybody has any questions or personal questions, please feel free to send me an email or a message. I'm always happy to connect with people. And I'm on all the social media and would love to hear from you. And you guys, it's inspirational. I mean, every time I get to have a conversation with women, I'm grateful.
Well, thank you so much. And ladies, thank you for taking time out of your schedule and joining us. And yes, let's give Lisa a round of applause. Yay, Lisa.
Thank you,
Lisa.
All right, you guys take care. We'll talk again soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
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 Bye, guys. Thank y'all.